Lyle Vance, if he'd give us an opening prayer. If you're uncomfortable with the prayer, you can step out for just a moment and welcome you back when we get through with that. Thank you. Lyle?
Our Father in heaven, we come before Thee at the beginning of this city council meeting and are grateful unto Thee for all the many blessings that Thou hast bestowed upon us. We're grateful to live in this community amongst all the people that we live with. This time we're grateful for those people who give service to our community, especially those who are in this room, those firemen and the policemen that serve our area. Please bless them, their families, and all the other firemen and policemen, and all those who give service to our community with the blessings they so deserve. We're grateful to be able to meet in this capacity, this country that we live in, to be able to use our freedom and agency to make decisions and try to do the best what we can do. This time, please bless us that we'll be able to hear, as issues come up tonight, that we'll be able to hear all sides of the issues, that all will be thinking soundly, that we can make sound decisions for our community here in Tremont. And we're grateful unto Thee for everything and ask these blessings in the name of Thy Son, Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen.
Would the audience please rise and repeat the Pledge of Allegiance after me?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thanks, Lyle and Wes. We'd like to welcome everybody. Like I said a few moments ago, we especially want to welcome those who are on this bench with us. Our council members, Wes Eastep, Connie Archibald, Lyle Vance, Brett Rohde, and Rick Siemens. We also want to recognize Sean Warnke, our city manager, Brian Crockett, with our police department, Mark Christensen, Paul Foljam. We have Lindsay Nessen here, Robert Lacroix, Shari Euler, and especially we'd like to welcome back Roger Friedel. Thanks for coming and seeing us tonight, Roger. And our police officers and firefighters. We have some special recognitions we're going to present here in just a few moments, and so thank you for showing up here tonight. Declaration of conflicts of interest. Does anybody want to, based on the agenda of tonight, is there anybody that needs to declare conflict of interest?
Mayor, I need to make note that I'm going to declare conflict of interest on budget being a full-time employee.
Okay. Duly noted. Thank you. Approval of the agenda.
I'll make
Council
a motion.
members?
I'll
Yeah.
make a motion that we approve the agenda as written.
I'll second that motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Approval of the minutes for April 5th, 2022.
I'll make the motion to approve the minutes for April 5th of 2022.
I'll second.
Okay. Been moved and seconded that we approve the minutes for April 5th, 2022. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Good. All right. Robert, looks like you're up here. We got some business we need to take care of, so I'm going to come down here and we're going to recognize some of our firefighters and their years of service. I was going to say something about that. Okay. Absolutely want to do that. We'll let you go ahead and.
Okay, perfect. All right, well, so thanks for issuing the service awards to the fire department. This is the first time, and it's well deserved. So, turn it on. You don't have to.
question.
Be on
I know.
for you too.
So I also want to recognize not only the firefighters, but also want to recognize the spouses because they also contribute to a lot of the time that the firefighters have spent away from their families. So in recognition of tonight, I had each of the firefighters write me a little statement, one about their family, two about projects they've done over the years, and then three kind of a memorable moments I'd like to share on each member as we go through. So I'll make it relatively quick. All right, so the first one is Colette Anderson. So she's not here tonight. I don't see Colette here. But she's she's married to Kevin Anderson. She has two children, Connor, 14, and Haley, 12. Colette has done a lot of CPR training and first aid throughout the community for the last 14 years. She's done the Bountiful Baskets for the Community Food Co-op. She was the first female firefighter hired by Tremonton. She's over 15 years ago. And one of her memories is a lot of memories of working with the firefighters and the firewomen, the burning of the old McKinley School to the recycling plant fire just a couple of years ago. The best thing about the fire departments is that no matter what we could count on, we can count on each other. Jeff's not here, Bonham as well. He's got prior commitment, but he's been married 54 years. He has 5 children, 11 grandchildren, and 1 great-grandchild. Projects he's done over the years is he supported the Firefighters Association and some control burns, steak fries, and auctions. His memorable moment was the passing of Steve Battis at his memorial. Nate Christensen as well. He's in Chicago right now, but he's been married for 23 years. He's got 4 kids. He's got 2 boys and 2 girls and 1 granddaughter. He currently serves as the rescue captain for the fire department. He manages our daily schedule as well. He's helped the department purchase the new electrical extrication tools. He spec'd and set up our technical rescue rope equipment. Nate's also the secretary for the Northern Region Utah Region USAR team. And he's got several certs over the years. And one of the most memorable calls is when there was a patient trapped in the silo, and he put the rescue harness on and went in the silo and rescued him.
That was a relation of ours.
Was it? Okay. Yours truly up there is the next. So Wes Eastep has been with the fire department for 41 years. I wrote this, Carol. So Wes's family consists of the most this is why you wanted her here tonight, huh? Okay, consists of the most understanding, patient, crazy, I didn't put that in there, fun-loving, happy, put up with everything I don't do right, but still doesn't often enough make me sleep in my shed. Caring wife, Carol. So thank you for that. And he put in here, which I like too, is how did I do with my brownie points? So that will happen later. So he's got, we have ours, mine, and ours family consisting of a total of 1 daughter, 2 sons, 5 grandchildren, with the hopes for many more. Favorite projects have been both additions to the fire station, the pit barbecue, steak fries, conventions, watching our department become the greatest in the state, memorable moments. And hiring the fire chief you put on there, didn't you?
I did. I got erased.
Okay. Paul Everton, I don't think, is Paul here? No. So Paul's been with the fire department for 5 years. His wife's Gina and Paul met a week after high school graduation, was married for 3 years. Was married 3 years later, not for 3 years. They've been married for 19 years this June and have 4 beautiful kids. Aliska, did I say that right? What is it?
Alexa.
Oh, then he didn't spell it right. Alexa is a junior in high school. Kennedy is a freshman. Ashlyn in 4th grade and Wyatt in 2nd grade. Projects: Paul started his career in May of 2013 in Roosevelt, Utah. From there, he went to Sunset Fire Department and was, in the last 5 years, he's been a member of the Tremonton City Fire Department. Paul's been able to receive trainings and multiple certifications while at Tremonton Fire, and including an EMS instructor. He's an advanced EMT, Chapter 5 Confined Space Rescue Tech 1 and 2, and most recently, he's completed the Extrication Rescue Tech 1 and 2. Paul is one of 3 members that are part of the Northern Region Tech Rescue Team. His memorable moment was 3 years ago while in a structure fire south of town. He was providing exterior fire suppression and collapsed from heat exhaustion on the fire scene. The way the people around, he describes, the way the people around me were concerned for my safety was life-changing. He felt a connection with the members of this department and the surrounding cities that will last forever. He's made lots of friendships that are more like family and appreciate every day I get to serve the community. Doug Furman, 43 years.
Doug's here.
So Doug's, he's been married to Trudy, and he said mostly Trudy raised the 6 kids while serving on the department. So far, he's got 1 of them as an advanced EMT on a local fire department. Something that Doug thinks about often is when he goes on to calls, when we go on a call into a house or a building, we are always looking for the easiest way to get a person out of the house to the ambulance. Some are easy, some are not. So after many years, I think about this kind of thing often when he's not on a call. So he remembers going on a tour of a friend's new home and saying, it would really stink if something bad happened to you down there and we had to be rescued. My friend said, why would you say that? I guess that's how I think now. So that's Doug. And he's also a captain for us as well. Dave Herron, who's been here for 12 years. I'm standing right there. Dave's been married to his sweetheart, Jan, for 18 years. And they have 11 grandkids, which keep them very busy. He's grateful for being part of the Tremont Fire Department. Dave has had the opportunity to be part of the Tremont Fire Department for the last 12 years. He's considered one of our department's handyman. Dave's projects includes building the hose rack, remodeling the equipment and storage room, and building the dining room table that we have dinner on now. Most memorable experience was a truck and a house fire. They spent the night on December 24th, 2017 in freezing weather, and all their turnouts, helmets, and SCBAs were covered in ice. Is Sean here? Sean? No. So Sean Jensen's been here for 27 years. He's been also, when I read this today, he's been married for 27 years to Laura. They have 2 children, Carson and Lexi. Projects would be helping build the ambulance bays, insulating the bays, involved in building the Ladder 31 as well as Rescue 31. Memorable moments are all the fun things they do with the crew, like the steak fry, helping women with the scone booth, card games after drill, and the good stories after a good fire. Tiffany Jensen, Tiffany's here. Tiffany's been with the department for 6 years. So she has 5 children from the ages of 25 to 7. Some say actually she might have 6 kids. That's sad. The oldest will be 50 this year. It's been the hardest to raise. She's got 3 grandbabies, and the funniest, they truly are the reason parents allow their children to live, which I don't know yet, but soon we will. Projects have been involved with the fire department. Lots of ambulance standbys through the years and touch a truck. One that stands out the most is a cardiac arrest at a high school rodeo. The problem being it was on a horse. I was on standby with Dan Nelson, and we both stood there with the deer in our headlight looking at what the heck to do. Another memorable moment was when she was on her way home from work. There was an accident on the freeway. She stopped, and to save herself from being in trouble, she went and grabbed her reflective vest. You probably know this thing from here. Grabbed the reflective vest out of the back seat of her truck. To her surprise, to my and Chief Battis' surprise, she actually grabbed the wrong vest, which was a special vest, and it didn't say the nicest things on it. So I'll say that. Little to say, this was not the best meeting she's ever had with Chief Battis on a freeway. To lighten the situation, I wore it to drill the vest next week, and was my sweet Wes, greeted me with my kind new nickname, Wicked Wanda. I am forever grateful for the fun and playful memories I have with my fire family. They have seen me through some pretty terrible times. Jared Morgan.
Jared's here.
Jared's here. So Jared's been with the department for 7 years. He's married to Brina. Jared has 2 sons, Braden and Jackson, and 2 daughters, Taylor and Michaela. Taylor is married and lives in Virginia with her husband, Weston. She recently had her first child, Zane. Braden is currently serving in the Port of Spain, Trinidad mission. Jackson and Michaela are living at home, staying busy with school and baseball. Jared has been involved with numerous fires and is a member on the staffing committee. The steak fries were fun, and it's hard to pick one moment when you work with great people. I don't think Munz is here. Munz working. James Munz, he's been with the fire department for 12 years. He's married to Lacey. He has 4 kids, Tess, Kate, Gus, and Ike. James was able to help with designing and going to pick up the new rescue truck. He's the only member that has been tased at drill. So it's Dan Nelson has been with the department. No, it doesn't. 8 years. Dan started out as a volunteer. Now he's one of our full-time firefighter advanced EMTs. Dan has 3 kids and 2 stepsons and an amazing wife. He's involved with different projects with the department, and the one he's most proud of is starting the Youth Fire Explorer program and the work involved with this program of being a mentor, teaching, and training the youth for a career in the fire service. A memorable moment with the fire department is the closeness and support we have for one another on the department, and all the work and extra hours put in for the steak fry every year that brought the community together and welcomed them into the firehouse. That allowed the public to get to know those that serve them and help build friendships and bonds for the members of the department, but also the department and the community. Mike Knorr, is he here? Mike, you're ready. Oh. So Mike Knorr and his wife of 47 years, Cindy, have 4 beautiful daughters, 16 grandchildren, and 2 great-grandchildren. Mike has been a Tremonton City Fire Department member for about 37 years and finds it difficult to summarize his experience in a few sentences. He served approximately 25 years as a captain, 2 years as assistant chief. These years serving the community took precedence over his life, and it meant the world to him to serve others. Mike has been fortunate to have his business right across the street, making it accessible to help with calls during the day for the last 25 years. While raising his 4 daughters, they were comfortable knowing that the entire fire department was watching over them. The girls could call and trust any firefighters to help them out if needed. They also learned that they couldn't be sneaky because of Dad would always find out. That's smart. They still wear as adults, as he hired the fire departments to spy on them. Also, if Mike had to leave during a family party, Thanksgiving, Christmas, or any other time, they knew he was helping and serving others in need and never questioned it or got upset. They are proud of his service, and so are his wife and grandchildren. Among his memories, Mike remembers spending days on the wildfires, adding on to the fire station twice, and going to Florida to drive Engine 31 home. He remembered significant fires such as the Midland Motel block. One of the calls he'll never forget is the USU band rollover. Other memories include the State Firemen's Convention, the annual steak fry, and the genuine love and support from the community members and merchants who donated thousands of dollars in donations and for the items to auction off. Mike is grateful for the numerous cherished friendships and the camaraderie among the fire department's members. So I just have a quick story about Mike that I want to share real quick. And Mike probably know it, because I say it often, but I just got hired here, and I was here, I don't know, maybe a day, and there's a medical aid, and I don't think I even really started yet. And so it was Mark and Mike, and there was a call, and Mark was at the fire station. And so he goes, "You want to come?" And I said, "Sure." And then all of a sudden, Mike comes across the street, and he's got his full, knee pads on and his, work belt. And I was like, "Whoa!" Like, I had no idea. So all of a sudden, we go to the medical aid, and we're at the medical aid, and this lady fell, and we were trying to figure out how to extricate her out. And Mike's like, and we were like, "We don't know if the door's wide enough." And all of a sudden, he pulls his tape measure off his belt, and he's like,
she'll make it. It's like the coolest thing ever. So I was like, awesome. I was like, all right, I'm in. So that like sold me, just to let you know. So it was Mike. So you the blame for me being here. So anyway, so I have to tell this story because it cracks me up. So I went back to it and I called Nevada where I was from. And I called and said, you'll never believe this. This is like the coolest thing ever. So it was really fun. So anyway, so you always have an impact on me on that. So, all right. So Jeff Euler has been with the department for 31 years. He's got 3 kids, 1 boy and 2 girls. He's been married for 41 years and have 3 granddaughters. Being a grandpa is the best thing. He's been involved with a lot of remodeling of the station building, the ambulance bay blocking the station, and working on small equipment for the station. When he got on 30 years ago, just learning the history of the Tremont Fire Department from the older members on the department. So Jeff here?
Yeah.
Joe Rathbone, 9 years. He's been with the department. He's been married for 23 years. He's had 4 kids, 3 boys and 1 girl, ranging from age 14 to 21. Joe has built a couple of training props for the department, as well as built the new dorm rooms in the basement. Joe's youngest son often helped with building of those rooms. Next is Russ Rhodes.
Just on time.
Is he just on time? All right. So Russ Rhodes, he's been with the department for 25 years. He joined in 1995. He is married to the love of his life, April Rhodes. He's got 3 daughters, Miranda, Keshley, Abby, and 7 grandkids. He's worked for Northrop, which I loved. I want to know how you did this, Grumman, for 339 years. He's been the number 1 for fires 3 years in a row. And let's see, he's been involved with the Ladder Truck Committee, and he spent many hours going over the building and the design of Ladder 31. And he's been an EMT for 23 years. Larry Robinson. Larry here? I don't think so. Okay. So Larry's been with the department for 12 years. His wife's name is Kim. He's got 4 kids, Emily, Ryan, William, and Michelle. He helped bring our active 911 system to the department a number of years ago, and this is true. I like what he put. He's the department geek and IT help. So that's what we go to when we need help. Chris is here. Chris Goddard has been with the department for 7 years. Brief description, Chris is the husband of Brittany and the father of 4, Taylor, Kennedy, Addison, and Boston, 16, 14, 9, and 5. Projects he's been involved with over the years, revamping all the medical supplies and current ordering process, purchasing of the Rescue 31, concept to design to spec and review, heavily involved in training of new firefighters and EMTs as an instructor and mentor, helped with our narcotic program, rewrite the protocols, EMS protocols, helped with our apparatus checkoff list, and he was the first member to be a national registry system advanced EMT, and he's also a member of the Northern Utah USAR team. Memorable moment, the most memorable moment for Chris with the fire department would be multiple opportunities that he's had to assist with teaching a fire or EMS class and helping ignite the passion in new members. Other memorable moments would include working with and assisting the citizens of Tremont in their time of need. The camaraderie with other members of the department are helping to build the overall success of the fire department. Oh, you want a new one? Yeah. There's no backsies. All right. Well, I don't know. I haven't proofread this yet. So I'm just kidding. So
With marks, you don't have to proofread.
I know.
Mine, you need to
I
proofread.
did definitely did. Okay, so Mark Thompson has been with the department for 42 years. Married to Sandra Smith Thompson, coming up on 44 years of marriage. Been one big supporter for him. A father of 5, 3 sons and 2 daughters. They're all married. 9 grandchildren, 5 grandsons, 4 granddaughters. 10th grandchild forthcoming. We'll make 6 grandsons. Worked for Intermountain Healthcare for 32 years as a registered respiratory therapist. He's worked at Thiokol in the fire department for 16 years. On October 2nd, 1980, became a member of the Tremonton City Fire Department with Steve Battis. Held various positions within the department. Current position is he's a battalion chief. Memorable moment, steak fries, water fight with Garland Department. Help with the station expansion. I like this one. I didn't know this. Losing bunker pants in a muster event at the Utah State Firemen's Convention that was being held at Park City. Pants fell down around the lower legs while carrying a patient on the litter in an obstacle course and able to complete the muster. That led to getting hired at Thiokol due to the fire chief being there and was impressed with my willingness to finish out the task at hand. So that's I like that one. Okay, so last but not least, Blair Westergaard has been with the department for 39 years. He's currently a battalion chief as well. Blair Westergaard has been married to Kelly for 40 years. They have 2 children, Josh and Morgan, and 6 grandchildren. Blair served Tremonton since 1983. He's had the pleasure of serving in all positions, including fire chief, and he was the interim chief before I got hired here. Biggest and best memories was the camaraderie of the department and serving alongside his brother Cole. So.
Well, thank you.
That's awesome.
Anybody add it up?
Thank you, Chief, for taking all that time to let us learn a little bit more about our firemen and women. Thank you, everybody, for coming tonight, and we appreciate the service that you have given to our community for many, many, many years. I've been hauled to the hospital by a couple of 2 or 3 times, and so watched Midland Hotel burn down. Watched. I remember one situation where the fascia broke away during the fire, and it was close. It was close and almost hit some of our fire workers. I went through the Midland Hotel with Blair and I think Jeff and maybe Doug. I don't know. I can't remember if you were there or not, but I do remember we went through there, and that was the last night the Midland Hotel stood in one place, stood up, and appreciate the service that all of you have offered. Thank you.
If I may,
Yeah.
I have 2 memories, okay? And, because we go back a long ways. And when I first moved to Tremont in 1985 on Halloween night, there was a bad accident, and there were a couple of you that brought this young man in face down. And I think some of you remember that, but your professionalism throughout all of these years is just bar none. Okay, you guys are amazing. And the other memory I have was the accident along the Canal Road in East Garden when the car turned over, and that wasn't good memories, but you guys and ladies handled that thing so professionally. And throughout my whole career, you guys have always been there. So thank you.
Thank you again. And for those of you that are a little bit newer, we thank you as well for, what we have to look forward to. So, and you families who gave up your spouses to serve our community, we thank you. Okay, well, let's move on a little bit. The next portion of our program is we have the public comment period. This is an opportunity for you to address the city council regarding your concerns or maybe ideas that you have to make our community a little bit better place to live in. We'll open that up right now to public comment period.
Must be a fire somewhere.
Well, I'm good to talk.
You bet.
Howdy, Mayor. again, for those of you, you've seen me a few times here, I'm Bill Rosema. Live down here on 960 South. Last time I was here, before the city council meeting, y'all were discussing how to come up with ways to raise money or raise the wages of employees. And we're talking about sales tax, and you were talking about property taxes, and I spoke a little bit about that. And I've thought about it, and I'm a little concerned about it, because property, I mean, if, it's no secret, real estate's about twice what it should be now. So the more your house costs, the more property taxes you're gonna pay. I know everybody likes to get raises. I like raises myself. But there's a lot of people out there that aren't getting a raise, and the cost of food has gone up. Your real estate or your mortgage taxes or real estate taxes have gone up as well. Everything's gone up. Something's got to give. And I'm asking you guys to really be careful with that. It blows my mind what real estate's going for these days. It just blows me away. And the cost of groceries, diesel, in some places, diesel fuel is $7 plus a gallon. And the truckers have got to pass that cost on to us. When we go to the grocery store, it doesn't matter what we buy. So maybe you guys could hold off a little while, maybe a couple of years, things will look a little bit better, and not be, maybe the cost of groceries and stuff will come down a little bit. But there's a lot of people out there, I'm retired, I'm on a fixed income, but there's a lot of people out there that didn't get a raise. The cost of living went up, they got no raise, so it's even tougher for them. And really, when you talk about property taxes, you could literally tax people right out of their home and create homeless. And we don't want that. So I'll leave it at that, and I'm just asking y'all to be really careful about that. And thank you for your service.
Thank you, Bill. All right. We have some public hearings to consider. And as I understand this, Sean, we go through one at a time and open each public hearing and then close each public hearing?
Correct.
Okay. All right. Public hearing to consider adopting ordinance number 22-01, adopting an impact fee facilities plan for parks, trails and recreation, and a recreation system. There we go, there you see it now. The public hearing is now open. Maybe we can kind of explain, this is an opportunity, if you have some concerns regarding any of these as we're going through, there's four of them that we're going to be reading, so if you have a concern, this is your opportunity for us to hear what you, as we're considering all of this, so. Public hearing on now do we say public hearing is closed? Mm-hmm. Okay. Public hearing on ordinance number 22-01 is closed. Now we'll open the public hearing on adopting ordinance number 22-02, adopting and enacting impact fees for parks, trails, and recreation systems. So the first one was to consider adopting 01, and then this is 02 for the impact fee for parks, trails, and impact systems.
What exactly is that?
I could. Is
Yeah,
it okay if I give a
go
quick
ahead.
overview?
Permit or something?
No, So essentially, the state law allows the city to charge impact fees with the issuance of a building permit for the impact that a new home would have on city facilities. And specifically, it's the parks, recreations, and trails. So if I could, Mr. Mayor, maybe I'll just show real quickly and cover in the new business portion what that looks like. So if you could hit the agenda summary, I think there's a good summary. It's number 7. So if you would just scroll down. So essentially, currently, right now, the impact fee and impact fees for parks and recreations and trails are only charged to residential dwelling units. So right now, the current fee is essentially $1,300, and what's being proposed, and what the mayor is and what these public hearings are looking at is we had to do a specific study. It's called an impact fee facility plan and impact fee analysis. And the impact fee facility plan essentially defines the current level of service and defines essentially what the cost would be to perpetuate that same level of service in the future with new growth. It also defines proportionately kind of what that dollar amount is. And it also looks at what's called buy-in. So the city has future facilities or existing facilities. If there's existing capacity in those existing facilities, then the city can charge the impact fee to help recover previous expenses that the city incurred in expanding these facilities. So this one is a little different, actually. It is based upon population. And so there is a different fee for single family, which the single family is this $2,500. If it's a multifamily, because multifamily usually has a smaller footprint, the fee I think is closer to $2,300. So it's the difference between I think 3.1. I might be fudging the numbers, the population, but it's essentially based upon the typical occupancy of those types of dwelling units. So just scroll down if you would, Lindsay. I think the council might be interested here. This is just the comparison that Steve put together. Some of these numbers were done back in September when we adopted quite a few impact fees. And on the right is our updated. So if you scroll all the way to the bottom, you can see with building permits, we believe Garland is right around 5,800 as we understand it. Elwood City is at 16,400 and Tremont City is 1,439. And these numbers are determined through a state subscribed process for us. So we don't make these up. We have to follow the methodology that's in the state code that helps us determine. So the numbers that I'm saying, that's $2,500 for parks, is the maximum fee that the city council can adopt. So hopefully that gives a little insight into what we're talking about.
I've got a question. Where do you get the money? Is it property tax or new homes coming in?
Yeah.
I didn't quite understand.
New homes.
Is it new homes coming
New
in?
homes.
At building permits, we
Growth.
charge.
New builds.
When we issue a building permit, we charge these fees.
That goes to the developer and the builder?
Goes to the city.
Well, I mean, it's charged from the developer.
It goes to the person building the home.
Right, they're the ones paying.
Yep.
Yes.
Ultimately, yeah. Okay, thank you, Sean. Thank you for the comments. Public hearing on adopting ordinance number 22-02 is now closed. Public hearing to consider adopting the tentative annual budget entitled the Tremonton City Annual Implementation Budget for 2022 to 2023, the general fund, capital funds, enterprise funds, special funds for the period commencing July 1, 2022 and ending July 30, 2023. This public hearing is now open. Okay. Public hearing to consider adopting the tentative annual budget is now closed. The public hearing to consider amending the annual budget entitled the Tremont City Annual Implementation Budget for 2021 to 22, general fund, capital funds, enterprise funds, special funds for the period commencing July 1, 2021 and ending July 30, 2022. Okay. That public hearing is now closed. Okay, let's move on to new council business. Discussion and consideration of approving March financial statements. Council?
I'll make a motion that we approve March financial statements.
I'll second that.
Been moved by Lyle Vance and seconded by Connie to approve the March financial statements. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Discussion and consideration of approving the March warrant register.
I'll make a motion that we approve this evening the March warrant register.
I'll second.
Been moved by Connie and seconded by Rick that we approve the March warrant register. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Discussion and consideration of approving ordinance number 22-01, adopting an impact fee facilities plan for parks, trails, and recreation. Sean, do you have anything else to share with us on that?
Not unless there's any questions.
Any questions with the council?
I do have one, Sean. We've been waiting for these numbers, the study to come out from Zions and from our own engineer and that. Are there other studies going on with impact fees right now too? Have we went through all of them yet?
No. And by the way, this was primarily Zions. Zions had it done in the fall or closer to the winter time. What we talked about is there was a credit, and we anticipated some future expenses, and we did obligate some of those funds to bring the credit down that's issued based upon the amount that we have in reserves. So we were trying to essentially address some of the reserves that we have and appropriate them, and we did do that, and we hope to do that more in the future. So what's outstanding, to answer your question, is the fire and police station. So currently, right now, we're charging impact fee, which is essentially for buy-in for the existing facilities that we have. But what we really need to do, and we're working on essentially creating a master plan for the fire and police to understand how much capacity is really remaining in that system and what the future facilities look like. So that one is outstanding. Scroll up if you would, Lindsay. I just want to make sure. I talked to Paul. We're going to, with Garland leaving the wastewater treatment plant, we want to start reviewing our wastewater treatment impact fee again. And so Paul is working on getting a contract with our wastewater engineer. It's different than Chris. It's Aqua Engineering. They're a specialized engineering firm that specializes in wastewater treatment. And so we'll be bringing that contract to you here shortly. But I think the other ones are, scroll up if you would, we've done water, we've done sewer. I mentioned we're going to undertake wastewater treatment here shortly. The stormwater has been done, the park's been done, the transportation, so fire and EMS. So I think the next step for the fire and EMS is really getting this master plan done so that we can understand, how much capacity is in our system for facilities and when we need to develop new facilities and what that looks like. Because once you adopt the future facility, then it puts us down the path of actually working towards constructing those facilities within a timely manner, because we start collecting impact fees and we have a certain amount of time once we collect them to encumber them in order to meet the requirements of the law. Otherwise, we're refunding money back to those who paid for it.
Is it 2-year, 5-year?
It is, I think it's 6 years. There's some extensions. For example, we did do an extension on our sewer line because of unforeseen circumstances where the state came in unbeknownst to us and did a surface treatment and put a moratorium on cutting the road. So we essentially had to push back that project beyond the statutory requirements, although there is a statutory allowance that allows us, and we took the proper steps to exercise that allowance to extend them.
Any other questions? All right, I guess we'll entertain a motion for ordinance number 22-02.
I'll make that motion to approve ordinance number 22-01, adopting the impact fee facility plans for parks, trails, and recreation.
I'll second that.
Moved by Lyle Vance and seconded by Wes. Let's see, this is a roll call.
Rick, aye.
Brett, aye.
Lyle Vance, aye.
Connie Archibald, aye.
Wes, aye.
Motion passes. Discussion and consideration of approving ordinance number 22-02, adopting and enacting impact fees for parks, trails, and recreation.
I'll make a motion this evening that we approve ordinance number 22-02, adopting and enacting impact fees for parks, trails, and recreation.
I'll second.
Been moved by Connie and seconded by Rick. Roll call.
Rick, aye.
Brett, aye.
Lyle's aye.
Connie Archibald, aye.
Wes, aye.
Motion passes. All right. Discussion and consideration of adopting ordinance number 22-03, amending various sections of the Tremont City Land Use Code, including Title I zoning ordinance, Chapter 1.04, and Title 3 General Public Works Construction Standards and Specifications, Standard Drawings, and Appendix A. Council? John, do you have anything to?
Yeah, if
add
you
to
wouldn't
this?
mind just scrolling down real quick, Lindsay, to the appendixes, I'll just tell you in brief right here. The first one is to clarify the Planning Commission composition along with some of their duties, the appointment process. I think of note is that we would change the composition from 7 to 5 members. We currently have 5 members serving. It talks about the appointment process, so we changed it to reflect what currently goes on with the council member liaison to the Planning Commission, sort of facilitating that process and the ability, to have an individual perspective, submit something that the council could evaluate, something in writing. If you scroll down a little bit further, it talks about the removal of the Planning Commission. We wanted to make sure that it's understood that planning commissioners are appointed officials and they serve at the pleasure of the city council. And so the city council can appoint and can remove a planning commissioner for any reason. And so that's clarified there. Just talks about the role of the planning commission. Let me read this actually, because I think it's helpful to understand. This is what the language is. It's planning commissioners are public officials that are political appointees of the city council. As non-elected public officials, planning commissioners do not have any constituencies. They do not represent the citizens or neighborhood. Planning commissioners' primary purpose is to be an advisory body to the city council by providing reasoned recommendations to the city council on the land use matters. So, and then scroll down a little further. I think pretty much everything. I think there's one more thing at the end. There's some, the state code now requires planning commissioners to be trained, and so that's included in there as well. So if you would scroll on to the next item. This is just changing our construction standards. We've had a very rarely used minor street, which was 50 feet in width. Typically, all of our public streets are 60 feet, and so for that reason, we proposed deleting the 50-foot cross section. If you scroll down a little further, you're going to see some intersection. As it relates to transportation, one of the more important elements of a transportation system is intersections. That's where you experience congestion. And so what we want to do is make sure that there is adequate right-of-way for turning lanes. And so this is an intersection detail for a minor arterial road. And we have two types of minor arterial roads. We have a 66-foot minor arterial road, which is typically a collector road width, but because some of these existing roads that we have that were developed in the county, for example, 1000 North is the most notable one. It functions as a minor arterial road, but the width is only a 66-foot width, more of a collector road. So we've come up with a alternative cross-section that sort of addresses that. But as it relates to what's being proposed here, this is at the intersections, and it just flares out. The right-of-way width expands to 71 feet for collector roads to accommodate these various turning movements, which are critical for the functioning of these intersections. So if you scroll down, again, it's going to be your minor arterial, and this minor arterial road, and this is, I have a hard time reading. Oh, this is the 66 with the 80-foot right of way. Again, it's a minor arterial road, but it's the 80-foot width, a minor arterial road, and again, it's the intersection detail. So if you would go down one more. I think this is just,
66 to 66.
okay, keep scrolling if you would. I think I've hit these intersections. Go to the last one, which is the dumpster enclosure right there. And we've just been working with Econo Waste, which is our solid waste handler. But for commercial and residential projects, the HOA or the property owner contracts with the solid waste hauler. Typically is Econo Waste, just because they have such a presence here in the valley. And in working with Econo Waste, they've suggested some changes to the dumpster detail to accommodate, more easily accommodate the trucks and the efficiency of dumping these dumpsters and trying to minimize, the destruction of the dumpsters. So really what it turned out to be is the width widened in order to accommodate a reasonable entry point for these garbage trucks. There have been some other minor modifications as well to the detail, like a man gate added, but just minor modifications based upon Econo Waste's recommendation. So these have been reviewed by the Planning Commission, and they recommend approval with a lot of thought and discussion. So.
Okay, very good. All right. Any questions, council? I guess we'll entertain a motion then.
I'll make a motion that we adopt ordinance number 22-03 as stated.
I'll second it.
Been moved by Brett and seconded by Lyle. Roll call. Let's start on the other end this time.
Wes, aye.
Connie Archibald, aye.
Lyle Vance, aye.
Brett, aye.
Rick, I.
Motion passes. All right, let's see. Discussion and consideration of adopting ordinance number 22-04, establishing a new zoning district entitled the Bear River Meadows Overlay Zone and amending the Tremont City zoning for parcel 05-186-0058, totaling approximately 10.94 acres from residential district R120 to an underlying zoning district of residential multiple district RM16 and an overlay zoning district of the Bear River Meadows.
And I'll have you know that the Planning Commission spent a lot of time on this, like 2 hours.
It's a thoughtful planning commission, and they debate things and discuss things. It's a great
Really
group.
good.
So, if I could, based on that title says it all in a lot of ways, but there's a lot of things also maybe to touch upon. So at the core, this is essentially rezoning property that's R120 to a higher density zone. Just to orient everyone, do you mind scrolling down to the first time you said the map? Here we go. So this was a property that was previously owned by John Canfield. It was annexed a few years ago. So to the south is Aspen Ridge, which is being developed as a townhome. And it's essentially, townhomes would be continued north onto this parcel as well. So if you would scroll down a little further. Essentially, this is a zoning by agreement. And by the way, here's just some excerpts from the general plan, our current general plan. We are working, as you know, on a new land use plan, but it talks a little bit about how this proposed development meets some of our goals and objectives of our general plan. So scroll down, if you would, a little further. This is a layout. It's conceptual in the fact that it hasn't been approved through the subdivision and site plan process, but typically what we like to do is try to get as much information, a relatively good concept plan that supports what's being proposed and what the densities are, so we understand relatively what could reasonably be developed on this property. But you'll see that I think it's I can't remember the final count, but I think it's over 100 townhomes, 105 currently. The ultimate density is going to be based upon compliance, with all of the city's codes and ordinances, and we've done our best to try to identify those through the process, this rezoning process. But one of the things that we're going to be needing to firm up is the Garland drainage, the Tremont Garland drainage district has a line that shows that it cuts through this property, and so there needs to be some more exploratory investigation on site to understand kind of where that is. The legal description isn't as clear as we would hope, but we do have a map that shows where that is, and that would be on the south property line, right there, right in there. So I did make one clarifying note in the both the zoning and in the development agreement that just notes that these are maximum densities, and the actual densities are going to be determined based upon compliance with all the city standards. It turns out that currently what's shown there and what's being proposed as the maximum density is 9.61 dwelling units per acre. But I did note, that these drainage lines, and the canal company also has a prescriptive easement. So these turned up by looking at a title report, and we noted that these were on the title. So, but let me just tell you real quickly sort of what is being proposed more specifically for development and development standards, because it is an overlay ordinance, and we're creating a new zone. So there are some architectural requirements that are pretty common to what we've required in other projects for multifamily. So I won't dive into the details there. So if you would scroll down a little further. So also right here, if you would stop. So some of the landscaping, buffering, and fencing requirements is they are going to extend the trail corridor all the way to 6 South. Right now, it stops a little bit short of where it needs to be. So they'll dedicate the land. They'll also, through the bridge, accommodate a 10-foot trail section on that bridge, which would match our trail width. They will also they're also planning on doing the fencing along the trail as well, which is an open space style fence, along with a mow strip, concrete mow strip beneath that. If they also will dedicate the amount that the current amount to construct the trail, which Chris has estimated to be $19.35, I believe, a linear foot, by the length of trail that would be on their property. Scroll, if you would, a little further. That's the open space fencing. It's the current one that's in Aspen Ridge. So if you want to take a look at it, that's where you would see that currently.
So that matches Aspen Ridge's
Fencing. Mm-hmm. Yeah, where it borders the trail, because I think on the railroad side, I think they're going to do a vinyl fence, more privacy, but this is a different fence, and it's one that we're going to propose be codified in the city's construction standards as well. So that's a forthcoming development code amendment. So also, instead of, for example, Aspen Ridge, they had a pretty robust on-site package for amenities. And what's being proposed here is instead of doing on-site amenities to that same level, that they would make a contribution to the city to help us improve our park system. And I think it's beneficial, obviously, for the city in the sense that we get some additional resources to improve our park system. But I also think it benefits those residences, our current residents, because then it opens up all of those amenities to be enjoyed by the entire city. And it doesn't burden these specific residents with the ongoing maintenance of on-site amenities that HOA fees are typically based upon. So what that means in practice is they're going to dedicate 3.82 water shares to the city, if you scroll down, for these open spaces that we currently have. Scroll down a little further. That's just the breakout of what those water shares would cover. They're going to make a financial contribution of $1,500 for each dwelling unit. And it's tied to the construction price index. So, for example, if the project slowed down and they did it 5 years from now, it'd be adjusted to whatever the current cost index is. They will do some minimum on-site improvements, a playground and some park benches. And then if you would just scroll down, we're almost there. I would stay there if you would for a moment, scroll up a little bit. I think we talked about the bridge. Essentially what we want to do, make sure, because this is right along the railroad tracks, we want to make sure the bridge is large enough that when the truck or when the train closes the crossing there, that people still have the ability to make a right turn. So we sized the bridge such that there could still be traffic flow and circulation.
That don't have
those events.
crossings on 6 South though, Sean.
What's that?
There is no gates on 6 South.
No, but when the train blocked, it would still allow, we still want to allow people to move through the intersection, when it is blocked by a train, is sort of what's being suggested there. And just that there was some cross-access, and they did submit a cross-access easement that we're working with. So these are private roads, and so both developments, Aspen Ridge and Bear River Meadows, would have the ability to use each other's road network, and so that's what the cross-access easement is. And I think that's it.
Is there a better exit on the 6 South than what there is?
Well,
Yeah.
We spent a lot of time on that, and originally, the reason why the trail didn't go all the way to 6 South, because originally we anticipated it was lower density, and the engineer at that point wanted the intersection to be located not lined up with the road that goes into McKinley. But based upon this type of development of the densities, the engineer felt like it would be better to line up those intersections and not have an offsetting intersection. So I think he felt like that was the best location to have it. I was also going to add that they're going to improve the 6 South frontage there. There will be a sidewalk there as well, which we will look to extend all the way to Tremont Street. I think there's 3 or 4 homes
On the south side.
on the south side, correct? Yeah.
So the play area, the open area, the green area at the north end of it, that's taken care of by the HOA, or is that Tremont?
Right, it would be the HOA.
HOA?
Yeah.
What about the density in that? You only got you got 2 places that you can get in and out of there. I mean, have you considered all that? I'm sure you have.
We have, we talked to, they did submit a transportation, an engineered stamp analysis of the traffic. We also looked at and I was frankly worried about it and concerned about it, but Paul and Chris both felt like there was adequate room, and as we looked further into it based upon the engineering recommendation and even on our current traffic counts, we felt like it could be accommodated. But physically, you will note that 6 South in that area next down, doesn't meet our city standards for collector road. This is, again, a street that functions like a collector road but doesn't have the same width as a collector road. But we do think some of the traffic is going to be distributed back to Tremont Street, from 6 South. And And there are times when, you know, people will just have to move slowly through that portion of the street. You know that we've done 600 west, and that becomes essentially a collector road. So when we realign Crumps, it essentially, because it wasn't really configured well, that road width is, you know, meets a collector road width. It's a large street. And so when we realigned that segment, that last 300 feet to actually be, you know, a connective street all the way to Main Street, I think it really changed the traffic patterns and added a much neater collector road in that quadrant of the city. So I think all those things help. And we do anticipate people are going to move south as well. So if they're exiting the town, you know, we think that, and what we hope is that Rocket Road will be a minor arterial road. As you know, we're trying to get 80 feet of width to make it a true minor arterial road width.
I was just thinking just the opposite. I'm seeing that people from Aspen are gonna wanna come up through there because it's shorter to get to Tremont in that way.
Into the school. Yeah, I mean, I do think there will be. Yeah. Which is why it'll be interesting to see how it's all distributed. But there are certain times of the day, you know, when the school, you know, right before school, right, you know, after school, the start and the ending times, it becomes congested.
So there's 105, did I hear you say the 105 units
Right.
in that? And then in Aspen Ridge, what do do you have a kind of an idea?
It's similar density as far as I think it's, could be, but the parcel's bigger if it is, but the same dwelling units per acres is essentially the same at a little under 10.
Pardon me?
It's a little under 10 dwelling units per acre. It's the same density, but I think Bill's right. It might be closer to the 150 because I think it might be a 15-acre parcel of property. I don't know if you could click on that, Lindsay.
Actually, I have a picture of the map. That's number 7. And what I have, Aspen Ridge.
Do you have the county?
150 townhomes.
Oh, okay. I think that's right.
150 townhomes. That's what's on the map that was given in that one city council meeting a while back.
Yeah.
That had areas that were approved and red areas that were in the process of being approved. And when I got this map, the area you're discussing right now is in the red on my map in the process of being approved.
Okay. Thanks, Bill. All right. Do we have any questions?
Developers are here too. I don't know if you would allow them to speak if they have anything. I don't know if you have anything.
Yeah,
I did
absolutely.
change the agreement slightly, and I showed that in red, which just notes that there are those drainage lines and easements that showed up on the title report, which may or may not affect the density. So
I think the only thing I would add.
Why don't we have you come up here?
My name's Kurt Larson with Bear River Meadows. I think the only thing I would add is something that come up in the city, the planning commission meetings was that a lot of the kids in Aspen Ridges are using the railroad track to get to school. And this would supply an extension of your trail system that would allow them easier access to the school without having to walk on the railroad tracks to get there, so.
Thank you.
I'll make a motion, Mayor. Are you ready?
Oh, right. Yeah, we're ready. Let's go ahead.
Okay, I'll make a motion this evening that after discussion that we adopt ordinance number 22-04.
I would second it.
A motion by Connie and a second by Wes. Let's go on the other side this time, Wes. Roll call.
Wes, aye.
Connie Archibald, aye.
Isle Vance, aye.
Brett, aye.
Rick, aye.
Motion passes. Thank you, everybody. Thanks, Sean. Thanks, everybody.
Yep. Thanks.
Discussion and consideration of adopting resolution number 22-19, adopting the tentative annual budget entitled the Tremont City Annual Implementation Budget for 2022 to 2023, the general fund, capital funds, enterprise funds, and special funds for the period commencing July 1, 2022 and ending July 30, 2023. comments? Sean, do you want to kick us off here a little bit, and then we can kind of go from there?
Yes, that'd be great. I'd love to. Just looking at something real quick. Yeah. Okay. So, so this is the first iteration of the budget, and it's the first you've seen of the budget. I would draw your attention to the memo here that hopefully gives details that are helpful to you as a city council in making decisions. I did try to highlight some of the big expenses, some of the underlying issues. I think, frankly, the biggest issue that we have with this budget is the inflation that everyone's experiencing, and I think Bill's comments are have a lot of merit to it. What we're seeing is a real competitive environment for employees, specifically public works employees and police officers. And frankly, there's a real shortage of police officers that are certified and are willing to do the profession. For that reason, it's become real competitive. And for example, UHP is paying upwards of $28 to $32 an hour to become a trooper. And people are becoming really aggressive, offering signing bonuses. For example, Brigham City has a signing bonus offer for individuals and moving people in at a lateral position. And just generally, for all those reasons, there's just been an increase in police officers' pay. And the same can be said for the public works employees. There's a real pressure for construction workers, people who have skills doing construction, and that includes our public works employees. So there's opportunities for these individuals to move elsewhere, and frankly would like to keep, our employees. And so there are selective salary increases being proposed, primarily in those departments, but there is a total cost of living adjustment that's being proposed for everyone else within the city at 5%. So right now, I reached out to Robert Spinlove with Zions Bank. He's kind of an economist, and he referred me to, I think it was I have to look again, it escapes me. I think it was the Bureau of Workforce Services, and it looked at our region. Labor statistics, thank you. And that index, according to Robert, pinned us at about 10% inflation within our region. Homes, I think he suggested Zillow for the homes, but homes have increased according to the index that he recommended, 28%. I would just clarify, when you see that type of increase in homes, that does not equate to the city receiving that same percentage increase, as you probably remember from all the discussions that we had for property tax. But essentially, it drives the rate down, the certified tax rate down, to deliver the same amount of revenue that we had for previous years, plus any new growth. And we are still waiting for the certified tax rate from the Box Elder County's auditor's office. And by the way, Tom, I don't know if you know that, but Tom took a job, so he's no longer the county auditor. And I just say that because I need to reach out to them and find the best person to talk to get some additional information and work with them on this certified tax rate. But we are proposing an increase in property tax commensurate with the percentage of inflation, which essentially equaled last year's increase was about 10%. And so, as I mentioned, cost of living or inflation is about 10% as well. And so this budget proposes that same amount. Now, having said that, we also became a little bit more aggressive with our sales tax. And again, you can read all of the commentary and all of the details, in this memo. And what we're proposing is typically what we do. So sales tax, as you might recall, all of these revenue sources are enabled through the state legislature. And in some cases, the state legislature's been very specific about what the purpose of these revenue sources are. For sales tax, it's for general indebtedness and for capital projects. And for that reason, we've pledged our sales tax for Utopia, for example, because that was an indebtedness. What we've typically done is we've certainly used some of our sales tax to help with the operations of the city, but depending upon how the sales tax goes in any given year, we transfer that excess to the capital projects. This year, we budgeted a little bit higher. We were a little bit more aggressive, and instead of doing this, instead of waiting to see what the sales tax would yield, because we're anticipating a little bit higher sales tax, we're suggesting that we make some of those transfers, now, or at least program them into the budget. So that's always available to you, how we recognize or what we estimate for sales tax. But sales tax, as you know, is variable. The nice thing about sales tax currently is inflation, I think, can help in part is driving up the sales tax we receive, based upon the cost of goods increasing. There's a chart in here. Scroll down, it'll just show you. Keep going. I think it's the line graph. Yeah, there you go. That shows where sales tax has been and where it, where it's currently at. So during the Great Recession, we dropped about 13% in sales tax. And so we estimated what we thought that was and dropped sales tax by 13% of what we thought the maximum sales tax we would get next year, just to sort of, put us in a position that we weren't extending ourselves, too much. Again, these are all decisions that you guys ultimately make, but that's what we felt was reasonable from a staff's perspective. So I would just also report to you that there's two funds that we're going to continue to work with our finance director on. The one is the fire fund, and the other is our water fund, to really dial down those revenues. The water fund specifically, has been hindered a little bit by the drought conditions, and thankfully people have used less money or less water, but that also equates to less revenue, and we have a lot of fixed costs and a lot of debt in that fund. I am going to be working with Curtis. We talked a little bit about with impact fees that we have buy-in. So currently, I think our impact fee for water is close to $4,000. About $1,000 of that is buy-in, and buy-in can be used, for any purpose because it's reimbursing the city. It's not restricted for future facilities. It's paying the city back. So, one of the things I want to work with Curtis on is potentially recognizing that revenue and using it to help, defray the current costs, to help pay for the bonds, which I think is reasonable. But we'll be watching that closely, and we'll be talking about water revenues and sort of what that looks like and what we need to do. You might recall when we last adjusted the water rate, the council decided to adjust it to the lowest rate that we felt like would meet some of the requirements. And since that time, things have changed. Primarily the drought scouting hasn't dissipated, and we're still in that drought cycle. So I'm trying to think what else is of note. Mark, do you have anything that you think is noteworthy to?
Maybe the health insurance.
Oh, yeah. So thanks to the council, that we made some changes last year, which put the city in a different marketplace for health insurance. Instead of being essentially getting rates based upon our own performance and claims, we moved to a community-rated product, and it's a lot larger pool, which helps to soften some of the fluctuations that occur individually within our own group for health insurance costs. So the renewal that we got this year is a 3%, which equates to about $20,000, which we feel really good about. So workers' comp, my recollection is it decreased quite a bit, as relatively. I mean, it's not a major expense, not like health insurance, but what's great is the work environment is getting safer. We've done some incentive programs which the trust has really championed, and in fact, it's part of the requirements for us to get a rebate or reduction in our insurance, and it seems to be working. We have training every month as part of that incentive program, and it's been I think a really good outcome for the city. So. There is, scroll down if you would, so I would just, this memo is a tool for you to read through, and I realize there's quite a bit there, and so obviously you're not obligated to do that, but maybe you could look at the headings that seem interesting to you or graphs and decide what you want to read or what you feel like you can. Obviously you could read it all too, but I would also just keep scrolling down. Mark put together some other budget tools which we think hopefully are helpful. Let me talk about this one real quick because I think it's a big enough expense and something that city staff would recommend and something that Paul's actually working on. And there might be, again, another amendment that we make in our codes. But Rocky Mountain Power, so the way it works right now is developers pay the cost to install a street light, and the cost is actually less than the full cost, because what Rocky Mountain Power does is they amortize some of the cost of the actual install into the rates for 5 years. And so we're going to work towards paying a little higher cost up front that the developer would pay, and then the city would enjoy a lesser monthly rate for the power. So that's something forthcoming. But because we have a lot of, what are they called, Paul?
High pressure sodium.
Yeah, fixtures. We can move to the LEDs, and if the city essentially contributes 88,000, 83, is that what it says? 88,000. So if we contribute $88,000, it'll move us to a new rate where we will be saving, because they'll retrofit those the existing fixtures with the LEDs, move us to a new rate. The payback for that investment is, I think it's 3.5 years that we would save annually, I think about $25,000 annually. I don't know if I see it there. There it is, $25,000 annually. So the return on investment would be about 3.5 years and would be saving $25,000 roughly every year, and it's fixed rates, so it's not on uses. It's they just move you to a different rate, and it's that rate times the number of streetlights that you have. So we believe that's in the long term would help to reduce the operating costs for streetlights. So.
In the packet, it shows two different sets of lights. The way I understood it when I was reading it, one's dim, the other one's bright. Are we choosing between the two of those?
Scroll down. Well, I think there's better lighting. So right here is the high pressure sodium on the left.
Oh,
It gets yellow and yellower the older it gets. And the other would be LED, which is a brighter light, as you know. That generally stays fairly bright through its life.
Yeah.
okay.
So scroll down if you would. I'm just going to scroll down to the next. You guys are familiar with, I think, the spreadsheet that Mark puts together that shows changes and notes, and that's a really good resource to take a look at, along with how we balance the funds. So that's this sheet that'll kind of give you an overview at a glance and help you make some comparisons based on other fiscal years, along with some notes. And then scroll down if you would to the next. And then that just shows you essentially how we balanced out some of the projects. So one other thing I just mentioned, and I appreciate you allowing me to give you some details. I would just tell you that currently it's being proposed in the budget that there would be an interloan fund between the wastewater treatment plant and the sewer line. So as you know, we're installing a sewer line currently on Main Street, and depending on how growth goes in the city, meaning if we collect a lot of impact fees this upcoming fiscal year, then we'll be able to potentially finance all of that project. If costs increase through the construction process, and building slows and we don't collect as many impact fees, then we would do an interloan fund through the wastewater treatment plant, which has some money that it could lend to that fund.
So we're changing the pipes because they're leaking or upsizing?
From 950 to Kent's.
So we're upsizing that.
Upsizing that line right there.
Yeah, it's an impact fee eligible project. It's all for
Adding
growth.
The old line and then upsizing.
It would have been done, Lyle, but they just paved that road. About the time they was talking about it before, they come, put all that new asphalt on, and said you can't cut it for 2 or 3 years. Or else that would have been done, but
Okay.
So I think unless there's questions at this point, that's where we're at. We'll have a couple more city council meetings where we can discuss the budget. If you do decide to do a property tax, as you might recall from the last year, that would not go. We adopt the tentative budget, which becomes the budget the interim budget until we adopt the final rate in the August timeframe.
I just want to just open the door up just a little bit with that. I mean, we flew over that information. You were talking about a real estate tax increase, because of the problems with the public jobs getting more aggressive out there. You mentioned that the police, versus highway patrol and that type of stuff. And it's not a secret that when you work for a public facilities, a city, that your benefits are extremely good. And when you get out in the private sector, I mean, I've been watching this happen for the last 20 years. Our insurance keeps getting whittled against and everything else to keep the salary competitive with what everybody else is doing and that type of stuff. And I believe, that the city's entering that market and hasn't been in that market. And so, for me as a city councilman to get behind this thing, we don't want to lose any good employees. We all don't want to lose any policemen. We've got a problem here, and just like everybody else, there's a demand for these people. But I think we're going to have to get our thinking caps on and not just increase taxes. There's might be some other ways that we can construe, keeping good people here without increasing taxes and selling the fact that, if they're just looking for salary, I know for a fact when you go over to highway patrol and that type of stuff, you get on the Utah salary, or excuse me, what do you call that?
URS.
UPTIF or whatever it's called. What is it called?
URS.
Yeah, and Tremont, and we're doing that same thing, right?
Right, you're exactly right.
I mean, are we competitive? Is it the same thing?
Well, that's what yeah, and I agree with you. Like historically, that's sort of the trade-off. You work for the public, you get better benefits, defined benefits versus the public sector. But what we're comparing against, with the exception of Public Works, because I think, they would be, doing manufacturing type jobs, which, some of these manufacturings around the area are in need of employees along with construction.
So if you lost, a city person over to the construction sector, who knows if they're even getting benefits when they slide over. I'm hoping somebody can sit down with them. What I'm used to seeing is when I came out of the private sector from banking and that type of stuff, that you sat down with your manager and they showed you what your total salary was, and people were blown away because they have no idea that the company has to match your Social Security and everything else that's going on. And if you show the total package, before somebody exited or took a job because it sounded like they were making more money over here, it might be that they're still in a better situation where they're at without us even increasing our wages. You know what I'm saying? I think we got to look at this thing tighter now.
You're right, and we have talked to, those, and these employees aren't necessarily, they enjoy Tremont City as an organization, the culture we have. So they're not necessarily looking per se for, but in some cases, they're being approached by these other entities, and one of them was down in Utah County, and we were saying, we pointed out just the different cost of living. So there's some things that, and we weren't comparing, we weren't matching them dollar for dollar for salary, but, there's other things for the employees to consider. And I completely agree.
You're looking at that stuff. So you made a comment that, in the budget, you're just going to do a blanket 5% increase. Did I
COLA,
understand you correctly
yeah.
across the board?
Correct.
Does that keep us competitive, or do we need to be?
No.
No, but we have our limits, so, and we can show you well, I'd rather just tell you the aggregate. So, cities will share what they're doing, for cost of living, and this was sort of across the state. The city managers, started sharing what they were doing just so we could understand, everyone could understand what the market was. And it was about 7%. According again to Mr. Spendlove, our inflation is, and that's what COLA is, as you probably know, cost of living adjustment, and it's essentially to offset inflation. So we're proposing 5%. Other cities kind of throughout the state, it's a composite, an average was at 7%. And cost of living, according to Mr. Spendlove, is at 10%. So
Mr. Spendlove works for Zions, and for the last 3 years, they've got a 2% increase.
yeah, well, and
Yeah, I'm just saying that. I mean,
yeah,
that's what the banking world pays their employees, a 2% merit increase. He's telling you that the world's paying 10%, and
well, he's saying inflation.
Right.
So what I'm saying is the other cities are showing 7%. Yeah, I mean, these are big numbers, but I do think that there's numbers to support, what's being proposed, and we're filling it. I mean, there's public works employees and positions that are unfilled. And I think we're recruiting currently for a police officer, and I'm not really sure if we've seen any applications that are worth noting. And lots of times cities are sponsoring prospective officers through post, just to get individuals into the field and to fill these positions, which is why it's sort of critical for us once we get these individuals to a point where they're able to make a really strong contribution, because they've been through post, they've got the certifications, and they've got some experience. So we've invested in them with training, field training. So when someone passes post, then they go into a FTO training, field training officer, and so they're riding around with another police officer to get the experience that they need to work independently. And we do have some great officers. So
And I don't think
Lyle,
that's at
do
all
you
the
know,
question.
Lyle?
Yeah.
I want to say that other than just to,
5% of your public works employees are below the poverty level? 75%?
it'd be good to see a comparison. When we talk like this, I mean, we're just talking in Nana land. We need to see comparisons, need to see a spread so we can see what, other cities around us are doing and that type of stuff, because we're just talking at this
We're
point.
talking
Well, we have
about
been talking, but,
saving employees that keep this city running.
Yeah, so we need to understand what's going on so we can get behind and support it.
and I've
Rather than
watched,
just talk about increasing taxes and not knowing why we're doing what we're doing.
I think right where we're looking at right here, of course, is the tentative budget. So we're not, this isn't we're just starting the process right now, but I've watched Mark and Sean work through this process, closest I've ever been able to do it. I've watched it almost on a daily basis as they've gone through. And in all fairness, they have done all of this. They have done the comparisons, with other cities, and the comparison. What we're not seeing is that we're not seeing that right now. But that's something that I think is going to be part of the process as we're working through this and refining the deal there. It is a little bit of a concern right now with the with some of the employees, you know, in the police department and also in public works, you know, and you know, some of the positions are going unfilled, but maybe what's more concerning is, you know, some of the employees actively looking elsewhere now. They are comparing to other public, you know, we're in competition with other police departments and other public, you know, public works departments and that kind of thing. And that's who we're tending to lose some of these employees to, is it just, it's like headhunting, you know, they're just, other communities are coming and they're just offering more money, you know, and it's the same thing all over. So I think right now the thing, you know, as we're going through this, like I said, this is a tentative budget, so let's work through this and move forward. And then I think what you know, what Lyle's saying here is let's come back with some numbers now and do some comparisons. Some of this stuff, I know that Mark's been doing a lot of this stuff. He's shown me quite a few charts and everything that he's done, you know, and looked at. It's interesting to see the pie chart, just where the money is going in the city, you know, and how much of it is just, it is involved with just our our employees, you know. A big share of that is just that.
Yeah.
It's our employees. So we want to be able to keep our employees, you know, we want things to move along. We want to be fair, and we need to be concerned about property taxes. So, I mean, there's a lot at stake right here, but, you know, we have a city to run too. So, but in your comment there, I think that's the next step, is we need to be able to get some more of this. So the council members can digest all of this information, and then, you know, when it comes to making the decision, we can do that. But right now, let's, you know, here we are. So
I just want to comment. I don't want people to think that we need to get our wages to where they're equal with other people, and we need to do everything we can to do that. We got to find creative ways to come up with the money. But there's no doubt that we need to take care of our employees. Okay, and so I don't think I hope that message hasn't gone out that way.
Well, and then I need to reiterate this when I started saying that our employees are the most important thing and that we need to do what we need to do to keep them here. But the answer is not always raising taxes right
Exactly.
off the bat.
Yeah, there's other ways.
that's the process that we
and-
need to work through.
So anyway, it alarms me. The last time we did, I just have to mention this, 2 more minutes. The last time this happened, we increased taxes. We all went through this, and everybody would think that real estate taxes would be evenly shared right across the whole reign of things. When they increased the taxes last time, mine personally went up $4,500 a year, because they only tax people at 500,000 or more on their real estate taxes. They're the only ones that got hit on the last tax increase. And so, you know, this is nothing that Tremont City can control. This is what the county did. Remember, we all went through this. And so anytime you do a tax increase, it's scary.
Well, they're reappraisals, and they do it by factoring in different methods, but it separates out.
They taxed
Not everyone equally.
500,000.
Okay, yeah, so it's not always equal.
They
I
got
agree.
hit, and anything less than that didn't go up any.
They should have gone down if you guys went up.
I don't know. I just know the top end, so.
Yeah,
Well, and strategically, we need to look at the growth of Tremont, and the school district's going to be hitting us with taxes, and there's a lot of other entities that are going to be hitting us with taxes. And so if we're not careful, we're going to tax everyone out of living here to a point.
yeah.
I mean, that's broadly speaking, but
Yeah.
we just,
Well, we-
I would like to look for some creative ways. And you mentioned some, you know, maybe some of the younger generation is more, they want to be paid and they don't really care for the benefits as much. Maybe there's an alternative to where their health benefits aren't as good, and yet they can see the full
Yeah.
wages. You know, maybe there's some creative ways we can come up with ways to help them.
I would just say, you know, and you guys know this, but just more as a reminder, you know, the one thing property tax doesn't do is keep up with inflation. It's not designed to do that. And so what cities do periodically, or annually, in fact, is to increase property tax commensurate with inflation. And we talked about that as one of the things that we should look at every year is what is inflation. And fortunately, this year, it tends to be really high,
And it was 7% this year?
10%.
Inflation was
Inflation
10?
is 10, yeah.
Which is why I suggested the 10.
The county- Different parts, yeah, it just depends on what county, they do, it. They have it broken down by county.
Yeah.
And you can look in and you can find out what the inflation rate is in Salt Lake County and Box Elder County and
But that's just.
Lincoln County, Nebraska.
Is that
you know.
real though? I mean, the
Well, that's-
housing price, well, no, housing prices and everything just shoot up because of shortages and everything. And I mean, that has to be a big part of that inflation, right?
I think yeah, I mean, the big ones are, you know, your food, fuel, and some of those things factor into the 10%. I'm not sure exactly how that's almost something separate. The housing, you know, here we are, 29% increase over the course of 1 year. You know, I don't think that really factors into this 10%. I don't think.
Yeah.
But,
Can I make a comment?
I don't think.
Sure, why not? Make it brief, will you?
I'll make it brief. You know, when prices go up, you can do less. You can cut some of your activities out, you know, to save yourself some money. But when you got a home and you got property taxes and they go up, you can't hide from them at all. And your home should be your sanctuary. You know, and I worry homes have gone up so much that
Sean kind of hit on that a little bit. You know, your homes have gone up, but that mill levy, that part, the percent they charge for property tax, that drops down. So, you know, the property tax doesn't go up at the same percentage as your home, the 29% or whatever it is, kind of a thing. But it's really, really complicated and hard, and these are about as difficult a decisions as there are to make right now, so.
Mr. Mayor, if I could, you know, just, you know, we talked briefly that the state enables us. They give us the powers and different revenue streams. But of all those revenue streams, property tax is the only revenue stream that we can absolutely control. And they did that on purpose. I mean, they obviously enabled us to do that. But if you think about everything else, sales tax, all variable. You know, building permits, growth-related revenues, impact fees, you know, utility rates, I guess we can control. But as far as taxes go, that's the only tax that we can control. And it's the reason why, in part, I'm suggesting that we increase it, because it doesn't meet all of the cost associated with some of these adjustments in wages. But it is stable, and it is something that we can rely on, you know, every year. And again, if we don't increase property tax, we'll always collect less property tax relative to what we previously had, because it doesn't keep up with inflation. It's just meant to deliver the same amount of revenue, with the only increase being in new growth. And the only way that we've survived, you know, since 1980, in my mind, without property tax increase until last year, was because we've had big influxes of taxable value coming out of the RDA associated with West Liberty Foods and Multimill. And so, you know, what the city council and previous city councils and administrators and administration was able to do is essentially bring in close, I think it was like $200 million in taxable value, which, you know, increased the city's property taxes by $500,000, you know, over that time. So it was that type of growth, because commercial property tax is taxed at 100%, where all the other property tax, residential is at 55% of its taxable value. So I just bring that to give some context to your considerations and deliberations.
Any other comments, council members?
Nope.
Well, I guess we'll entertain a motion.
What are we doing?
Oh, I'm sorry. What are we doing?
You're adopting the tentative
We're
budget.
adopting, I should have done, adopting resolution number 22-20.
No, it's 19.
No, 22-19, sorry.
G.
What? G, yeah, 22-19, adopting the tentative annual budget entitled the Tree Mountain City Annual Implementation Budget for 2022 to 2023 for the general capital enterprise and special funds for the period of July 1 to June 30th of 23.
So I'm making a motion for the tentative, it's just, we're opening the door for
We're
discussion.
opening the door.
So I'll make a motion that we adopt resolution number 22-19, tentative annual budget for 2022-23.
I'll second that.
Been moved by Lyle, seconded by Connie. Roll call. Let's see, Rick, do you want to?
Sure. Rick, I.
Brett, aye.
Lyle Vance, aye.
Connie Archibald, aye.
Wes, aye.
Motion passes. Thank you, everybody. Thank you for the discussion, and thank you for the comments. These are important times, and these are important things, and hard decisions to make. Let's move on. Discussion and consideration of adopting resolution number 22-20, amending the annual budget entitled the Tree Mountain City Annual Implementation Budget 2021 to 2022. Now, this is amending the budget. General fund, capital, enterprise, and special funds for the period commencing July 1 of 21 and ending June 30 of 22. So this is the amendment.
So this is the current, but yeah, this is
To the current-
the current
the
budget
current
that
budget.
we're in that started last June, ends in July. And going through the actuals that as you know, the budget is our best guess, our best estimates that what we can do to expend the revenues that are brought in. And so I made a comprehensive list of every single change that we were proposing to change for this current budget year. And a majority of them have to do with grants. The library, the senior center, and also the fire department have done a great job at receiving grants and then doing projects with those monies that were received. So a lot of it's money in and money out. Building permit revenues have exceeded what we estimated, and so
Can you make that a little larger?
those were some of the revenues that
That's better.
we're amending. And then there's like a railroad crossing over by Post that the city pays for, but then Post reimburses us the money for that. So not a lot of them are new one-time or new expenditures, but more just grant money that was received, grant money going out. You can go through the list. I tried to put a note by each one of them to let you know why that expense had happened, and they do balance out. So in Fund 10, the revenues, all of the changes in the budget money equals the exact changes for the expenses. So we were able to pay for each one of those with revenues. Are there any questions to?
Could you touch upon the ARPA funds and what's?
Oh, yeah. So the bottom of Fund 10, there's $1.1 $8-9 million from the ARPA funds. So that we're going to recognize that revenue as lost revenue. And so we've received one of the payments for $544,000. We'll receive the next payment in July, but we're going to recognize it. We're going to recognize it in this budget year for Curtis to do his reporting for the to show the state that we. It's kind of if you made less than $10 million for ARPA funds, then you can just check a box that says we lost this revenue, and we'll receive the money from the government to reimburse us for the money that was lost through COVID. And then we have transferred that into the water fund. The council has made it clear that the water fund is where they want those ARPA funds to go for future capital projects and infrastructure projects for water, so that we can, take care of our water situation from here on out. So we receive it in to the general fund, then we transfer it out of the general fund, and we receive it into the water fund.
What's city council overtime?
That's a lot of it has to do with trips down the road.
Okay.
St. George and that kind of thing.
Lots of late meetings in December and January.
Lots of pizza.
But it's you. Okay.
Okay. Any other questions other than pizza? Any other questions about the amendments? Okay, then. Okay, go ahead.
I'll make a motion that we adopt resolution number 22-20, amending the annual budget entitled the Tree Mountain City Annual Implementation Budget 21-22. I do want to say too that I really value so much those that write those grants and that put forth that effort, because as you can see, it really helps us a lot, and it's a lot of work to write a grant. So thank you for being conscientious in doing that.
Okay, second.
I'll second the motion.
Okay, motion by Connie, seconded by Rick. Roll call. Let's see.
Rick, aye.
Brett, aye.
Lyle Lance, aye.
Connie Archibald,
Moved right
aye.
out of the-
Wes, aye.
Motion passes. Thank you, everybody. All right, discussion and consideration of adopting resolution number 22-21, select health insurance carriers and defining the city's contribution for health insurance employee benefits for 2022 to 23 fiscal year.
So this is just a
This is what we-
$20,000 increase,
This is what.
and it's the same insurance. Then it's a no-brainer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You want to make a motion?
Yeah, I make a motion that we approve
that.
resolution number 22-21.
Okay.
I'll second that.
Seconded by Connie. Okay, I'm going to jump to this on Wes. Go ahead.
Wes, aye.
Connie Archibald, aye.
Lyle Vance, aye.
Brett, aye.
Rick, aye.
Thank you, everybody. Okay, this is the one we've been looking for all evening. Discussion and consideration of adopting resolution number 22-22, authorizing West Liberty Foods LLC to discharge to the Tree Mountain City Public-Owned Treatment Works. Paul?
Yeah, this is just renewal of the permit. So, they've had a permit since '07. It's varied a little bit, but the last few stayed the same amount of discharge that we allow them. And so it's just a continuation of the permit they're operating here. We do this every 3 years. And so any questions?
Problems with what they,
No, it's just ongoing wastewater stuff. So.
all right, council, what do you think?
I'd make a motion to adopt resolution 22-22 as written.
I'll second it.
Moved by Wes and seconded by Brett. Resolution number 22-22, Rick?
Rick, aye.
Brett, aye.
Lyle Vance, aye.
Connie Archibald, aye.
Wes, I.
Very good. Motion passes. All right, let's move on a little bit here. We've got a little change. We wanted to make sure that as we're working, well, we're going to review the calendar. I guess, are there any calendar items we need to? Oh, yeah, of course we do. The spring cleanup this Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday.
They're full, and they're already dumping stuff alongside them.
Yep.
They are.
So,
Okay. Well, we got that coming up, and it was, I don't know, 30 some odd loads that we hauled away last fall.
It's a great
So
thing.
people got a lot of trash they need to get rid of.
It's good.
That's coming up. Compost. If people want compost, the farmer's market coming up on Saturday, the first one of the season. We're excited about that. We've got a lot of vendors. I think you've got, what, 35 of them, did I hear you say? 31, okay.
Wow.
We're going to be giving out the giant pumpkin seeds that day. So if your kids want to do that, we want you to be involved. That's coming up. That'll be all summer long and into the fall. Let's see, what else have we got coming up?
That's it.
That's pretty much it? Okay. All right. One thing we wanted to be able to do is, as we're going through these agendas, if we put something on hold or whatnot, we want to make sure we
Shut up.
revisit those things until the decision is made. So under the unfinished business or action items section, if we've got unfinished business that you know of, that needs to be talked about, get a hold of me or Mark or Sean or somebody, and we'll make sure that gets on the agenda. We get those decisions taken care of. We don't let things slip away from us. City manager, did you have anything to add to that at all? Anybody else?
Didn't.
It was Brad's idea. I think it was a great idea to do that. So, city manager reports, Sean?
Oh. Yeah, I was going to let you know that, one of the grants that we pursued, it was a relatively minor grant, but it was with EDC Utah. They offer a community development grant, and we applied for wayfinding, and they did award us the most that they do for any one recipient, which was $5,000. And because our branding process does include a wayfinding element, they allowed me to apply that $5,000 to our branding effort. So we were able to reduce those costs. The city also got, Mark was the one who helped on this one, a wayfinding grant from the county for $40,000. And so you might recall wayfinding is something that's been recommended actually since 1988. There was a plan for the downtown, and it talked about wayfinding, but also in our AIA, it's the ESTAT. They recommended wayfinding. Our most recent Main Street plan recommended wayfinding. So we are trying to work towards wayfinding. So we have $40,000 that we're going to apply for another grant project as well to do, see if we can get some technical assistance for the wayfinding. But we have a year to move forward with implementation of wayfinding and take advantage of that $40,000 that the county provided to us.
All right, very good. I suggest that maybe we already used Brett's unfinished business action items section and maybe move the development projects to next time. If that's okay with you. Everybody is okay with you, everybody? Okay, city department head reports and comments. Paul, do you want to give us a little update? We're all just itching to hear about Garland.
Well, Garland's been basically on their own for about 2 weeks now. They're not officially plugged. They haven't told me when they're going to, and I haven't approached them about when are they officially going to pour the plug. They just have it sandbagged off where it would come to Tremont now. So they're in the process of building their treatment
The bugs?
bugs and biologics, so it does the job. I mean, I did go up last week and show them some things they needed to do on a daily basis and how to do their monthly samples and everything that's required. They have a total different permit from us because of their amounts. Things that we do twice a week, they only have to do twice a month by their permitting standards, so.
Oh.
But they are functioning.
Mr. Mayor, I have a question for Paul. Do you know how they're going to get rid of their biosolids?
They talked about landfilling them.
Oh, just land apply?
Not land apply, but landfill.
Oh, they can do that.
Oh, yeah, the county will take them, but they have the right at any time to say, we don't want them anymore.
And they still have the responsibility for?
Yeah, yeah, because they're Class B biosolids, they're responsible for those for eternity. If they ever came back and caused any problems with groundwater or whatever, because of metals or even the new PFAS and stuff that could be in them, they're responsible for them. But yeah, they told me they were gonna landfill them, So, land applies a little harder because you have to get a permit from the state and they have to be applied at an agronomic rate, so you don't overload the soil with different, nitrogen, ammonia, and all the stuff associated with it. So, but that's it. If you've had any questions on anyone's ever mentioned why the road's closed down south, that has to do with the development of the Harvest Acres. Their sewer line's 20 feet down, and so it's been a big project, and hopefully tomorrow there'll be across that road, we're hoping.
You
And
never dug anybody up.
They're not
That's a deep hole.
some deep holes.
deep hole.
Because to get the sewer to the very south end of their project, they had to be deep. So right there where you see them crossing the road, they're actually deeper than my existing sewer line there. They had to take it all the way down to where we went to the river to get the depth they need to make it gravity flow. So it was a big project for RUPS there for that Harvest Acres and Harvest Village. So
Where's that at?
It's up by me,
12 South, Rocket Road and Cemetery right there,
yeah.
They're south of the.
First
And
East.
it's
and-
been kind of tricky
It has.
getting places, but I've learned how to do it.
So like I said, hopefully by tomorrow, they'll be through that road and have it, but
You won't
it's
be able to
safer
do
to,
a Palmer pack, you might, but I don't think Lindy will be able to go home they'll have stuff
You have
that
a
way
long
for a
way to
while.
go.
you ever been around her kids? She probably doesn't want to go
Might
home.
go home.
Anyway, I just thought I'd mention that in case you've had anybody inquire about
So how much longer
about,
where the road will be closed?
I'm hoping tomorrow they'll have it, because they were getting the sewer line across, then they have to bring all the fill and compact it up so they don't have the settling issue.
Like
So
Thursday, they ought to.
So-
you ought
by
to
the
be able to-
weekend, we should be able to go
Absolutely,
all the way to Elwood.
yeah.
Oh, that'll be awesome.
So, and then we're probably looking 3 or 4 weeks before they get it patched after that.
That's all right.
But I'll keep on Blaine to make sure he keeps, just like on our secondary roads and stuff, so. Anything, questions or anything before go home?
The way we get better, right?
Okay, thank
Go
you.
home yet. You're gonna stick this out till the end. Okay, council reports. Anybody have anything to share with us? Brett? The only thing go ahead.
Thanks for putting that together on the budget. It's so easy to look at one page and just see what's going on. Thank you.
And if there's more questions, every little no, typically go to the memo and you'll get a whole explanation on it.
It's just hard to find that in 420 pages though, without missing it, trying to get, they're down there a long ways.
That helps
I'll
out.
show you how to use the quick links on the left-hand side.
I don't have them. Oh, wait.
You should.
Hey! I learned something today.
I get a little concerned. I think someone was a little upset over our discussion tonight, and honestly, they don't need to be. I mean, department heads, please let them know that we're trying to find a way to make this work. Okay? We are. So,
Connie?
I'll just report that our library had a meeting last week when we were at our meetings in St. George. And they're just doing some great things, preparing for summer, for children, for reading. I appreciate the library board and that group of individuals that are trying to help our community in that particular aspect of education. So I appreciate them very much.
Wes?
Been an honor. I've learned a lot in a short amount of time. Got a lot left to learn, but
There you go. The only thing I have is, we've got the pots are ready to plant. If anybody would like to help plant flowers, just let me know. I think we're kind of holding off. We've got a cold snap right now going on. We might as well leave those flowers over to calls until things kind of warm up a little bit. But, what we're going to do is we're going to try to get them started a little bit earlier this year, put them in a hot house and let them grow in the hot house for a couple of 2 or 3 weeks. And then when we put them out on Main Street, they'll be a little more adapted to the area, adapted to the pots and everything, and should do pretty well. Anyway, if you would like to help, I'll just send a memo out to everybody and let you know the day for sure. We're watching that really close right now, and things start warming up.
So you don't know for sure?
Well, it'll be next week. I just don't know the day yet
Okay.
for sure.
Okay.
I think the first of the week was a little bit cool, but as we move on, we'll hopefully be able to get some warm weather. Thank you, everybody. Holy cats, we had a big one tonight. So thanks for all, and it's not over. We're suggest that we look forward to the tour of our water sources on Monday. Looking forward to that. And I suggest that if you've got questions about the budget, get a hold of Mark and Sean. They really have, I've watched them, and they really have worked hard on this and almost pulled a rabbit out of the hat with trying to work with some of these salaries and things like that. So I really suggest you talk to them, and they'll be very, very happy to fill you in. One more motion, council.
I'll make a motion that we adjourn.
I'll second.
Motion moved and seconded. Everybody in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. We are adjourned. Thank you, everybody.
Don't we have an RDA meeting?
Yes.
We do. Oh,
I'm
don't
taking-
go anywhere. Don't
I'm
go
taking
anywhere.
2 before we get into RDA.
Nice
still have a
call. Nice call. Why don't we take a little bathroom break and we'll come back and finish that up.
RDA.
I got played.
Yeah.
When he made that comment, I'm thinking, I was about ready to plow into it, and I just thought, I'm tired, I'm getting tired of this. You know what? We're all facing inflation.
Oh, we all are. I mean, we live here. That's just how it is. We're all on fixed incomes up here.
Huh?
We're all on fixed incomes.
We are.
up here.
I am. That's for sure. My income cut right in half,
Oh, yeah.
directly, right smack dab. I haven't touched my pension or my 401k, but I'm at half of what I was bringing in before.
Yeah. Sugar fix.
I know, I'm just.
Man,
so
you're gonna go
tired.
home buzzed.
They're really great cookies. I thought they were delicious.
And then our population's getting older, and so we have a poor representation here because we're all retired.
It's because no one else wants to do anything.
And it's like, we're not gonna have increases in our revenues. So it's, yeah.
How'd you become a Buffalo Bills fan?
O.J. Simpson.
Oh, okay.
Years ago.
Running back in his day.
Yeah.
when I was a little kid.
Yeah, I can understand. So I grew up in San Francisco during the heyday, well, what I thought were the heydays of the 49ers, the Joe Montana
Oh, yeah.
and era and Roger Craig,
Rice and,
Ronnie Lott, and
yeah,
all those
yeah.
guys.
Great time.
But he's like, he's hoping to be able to participate.